Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another video on Ortega Squatch. If you're dropping by, take a listen. I appreciate you. I'm at one of the squatchiest places on Earth. One of the places that I'm going to be doing a hunt, and I just wanted to share a quick story for you. Again, these stories for right now, I am hoping to get some testimonies from actual people when I set up that email, and I'll let y'all know when that email is set up. This story is actually coming from one of the channels that I listen to right here on YouTube. This is from Sasquatch Stories, or if you're looking it up, it's S Stories. It's really good. I mean, that one, Dixie Cryptid, and the other ones that I'm mentioning, like Sasquatch Chronicles, Wes Germer, oh man, awesome. But this little story comes from Sasquatch Stories, and it kind of got me right here, because it's like one of those instances where Bigfoot helps save people. And here's the deal. These two cousins, they were helping to take care of their aunt, and they were on a farm. The aunt was unfortunately on her last days, and eventually she ended up in hospice, and she was staying at a separate apartment, and the girls had to watch out for her farm. Well, unbeknownst to them, until they got there, there was a Sasquatch nearby. Kind of funny, it's like your aunt doesn't bother to tell you that she's been kind of feeding a big Sasquatch. So of course they didn't believe it at first, but eventually they found out about it. And one of the girls was like, cool. The other one was like, monster. But that it said that one girl that kind of felt cool about it, she also felt sorry for the beast, because it was coming around and entering the barn, and they knew before they even made visual with it, they knew something was up, because they could hear strange noises out in the barn. And then they were like, it stinks in here. I love me some Squatch, but I'm kind of embarrassed that old boy kind of has a smell to him, and it's always like double skunk, double triple skunk, or whatever, wet dog and all that stuff. And ain't the background back here just beautiful? It's beautiful. There's my little secret spot here. Anyway, they knew something was up, because they kept going into the barn. Things were messed up, not like thrown around like a wild animal would do, but like you could tell something's been in there doing stuff. So and plus the smell and everything. So they eventually made visual, probably about 2 weeks later. It's always 2 weeks. You ever notice that? You remember Total Recall? 2 weeks. Well, anyway, everything's always 2 weeks. But then 2 weeks later, they finally made visual. Shocked. I mean, why wouldn't you be, 8 to 9 foot tall, big, hairy beast, apish like, but with a human face. And they noticed the eyes, something about the eyes that was just too human. Anyway, it didn't really bother them. It didn't really, show aggression. It was just looking for food. And eventually, took some dog food, and like the whole sack. Like, there wasn't like dog food strewn around the barn or anything like that. They took the whole sack, and then later on, when they went walking down, they went down to the creek bottoms. Creek bottom. They saw the empty sack. About the only thing that was like savage about it is like it was ripped open. But then again, we rip open stuff. I know I rip open stuff because I'm impatient. I mean, those little threads don't work all the time. So, rip, just get down to it. But other than that, the sack was empty. No wild animal's going to do that. Squatch is very intelligent. Anyway. So they were taking care of their aunt. They were taking care of the farm for her, because again, she went into hospice. She was actually living in a separate apartment. She couldn't, do anything with the farm. And these two cousins stayed there, cleaned the place, made sure everything was good. They were eventually going to get ready to sell. And on top of all that, you're dealing with a Bigfoot out there. And, one of the cousins actually kept making, like leftover foods, like plates of leftover foods, bowls. She eventually started buying apples for the darn thing. She was just throwing out breads and stuff, anything that she thought a Bigfoot would eat. Who knows what they eat? Are they herbivores, omnivores, or anything-vores? I think they're anything-vores. They gotta eat. So anyway, time passes. The Bigfoot actually gets bold now. Doesn't attack them by any means, but starts coming up on the porch late at night, making woof, like woof, noises. I mean, obviously it was hungry. So, that one cousin said, why do you keep doing these things? And the other one said she felt sorry for it. It's hungry. It's a beast. It's got a stomach. It's looking for food, and it's never done anything to them. So she keeps leaving food out for it. Eventually the aunt passes away. They've made arrangements to sell the property. The property is now sold. And they stayed behind to make the final arrangements and to also, fix up the place a little bit by painting and keeping the yard mowed and everything. Buyers came by. It eventually was sold. They had one more week to get, all the thingamajigs and doodads and everything, loose ends tied up. The Bigfoot kept coming around. Stayed its distance. Only late at night would it approach the porch, and they could hear the loud, heavy footsteps of it, coming onto the porch, which kind of freaked them out. Even though they weren't afraid of it per se, it was like very creepy to hear something very large and heavy walking bipedally, by the way, on your porch. And this one day, it was actually 2 days left that they were going to be on the farm, and they were going to be done with it, moved out, all that. There were actually storm warnings going around, and these storm warnings were predicting tornadoes, and which was not very uncommon where they lived. But, there still was, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen type of thing. They were enjoying their lunch, and they heard a growl. They heard a growl, a low growl, a soft growl. And then they heard a very large on the house, which never happened before. They kind of had a clue what was going on. You got a Bigfoot in your yard, and then you hear a growl, but never was there a loud I hope it's coming through to the phone. I'm trying to make it sound bassy, And they stood there staring at each other. And then they both sat down, and they just kept staring at each other. And they obviously they knew what it was, but it's like, what? And then another loud and it rattled the whole house. It shook the whole house. Now these girls were afraid. They've been dealing with this thing for all this time. They've been feeding it. There's never been any aggression, and all of a sudden now there's growling and a loud bang on the walls. But not only that, about a minute or two later, they heard the loudest, ugliest, scariest scream ever. And it began like a moan, like, and then obviously I can't do it, but it was like a very loud scream. Now these ladies, they lived in the South. They were used to hearing panthers, cougars. This thing sounded similar, but not really to that. And it was like you could tell the lung capacity on this thing. And it screamed so loud. They were afraid. One of the ladies got up. She ran to the window. She screamed. And then she told her cousin, we gotta run. And we gotta go down to the basement right now. The other girl, she's like, what is it? Just run. They went down to the basement. They shut and locked the door. And all, like, within minutes that they got there, they heard a loud whirring sound. They could tell that the walls were coming down. They could tell that everything was collapsing around them. The tornado struck. A tornado had hit their house. They sat there for what felt like hours, but it was only just a few minutes. It sounded like a freight train running through the house. They just knew it was all gone. After the noise had settled, they both got up, they walked up the stairs, and they expected to see nothing. Nothing. But you know what? The house was spared. Only the windows were blown out. They walked around the house. They couldn't believe it because what they were hearing, all the noise. I mean, they just knew the house was gone, and yet the house was still there. When they looked outside, though, everything was pretty much gone. The large barn that was there, holding all the equipment, all the tractors and the feed and everything, gone. In fact, it looked like it wasn't even ever a barn there. Their U-Haul that they had, their stuff that they were fixing to leave, it was turned over, but that's about it. Now, the houses that were pretty much near theirs, they were gone. But yet their house remained. Neither one of them said anything. The shock was, too much. Neither one of them said anything. And they left. They got a couple of neighbors to come by and help them turn over the U-Haul. They hooked it up and they left. It wasn't until the next day, when they were eating breakfast, that they started talking to each other. And one of the ladies asked the other one, "Are you okay?" The other lady said, "Yes." She goes, "What did you see right before we went into the basement? What did you see when you looked out the window?" That lady began crying. And she said, "I saw the Bigfoot running away towards the barn." And she goes, "It ran so fast, it was unbelievable. It ran into the barn, and I noticed the cloud, the tornado, the funnel cloud, strike the barn. The barn was completely destroyed. In those few minutes that she was looking out the window, she saw the Bigfoot run into the barn, and then the tornado struck the barn. It completely just destroyed it. And she said that she saw the body, the Bigfoot's body, in part of the debris. And she said, "My God, that thing gave its life for us. It was trying to warn us. That's why I was knocking on the house and screaming, because the storm was coming." So you can think whatever you want. That thing saved our lives. Man, when I heard that story, it kind of got me right here. Like I said, I was like, doggone. Might be fake, might be real. Most of these stories, they're testimonies. At least when I look at the channel, or when I hear the channel, I kind of just put it in the background. I listen to it like a podcast. I like to think that it was real, because who knows? I'm open-minded, I'm open-hearted. I like to think that, things like that happen. Anyway, like I said at the beginning of this video, I heard this off of Sasquatch Stories, or if you're looking for that, go ahead and type it in, and if you see the little icon, it says S Stories, like and subscribe, and you'll enjoy it. That's why I started my own channel too. It's because I've been through this past year, and like everybody, 2020 has been a really caca year. And I've gone through my own sicknesses. COVID wasn't one of them, praise the Lord. But I was going through my own sicknesses, and it kind of messes with your head. And I was just getting stressed out and just had it. I just had it. I started to listen to podcasts just to relax. And you know what? It's done wonders. I'm happier. I'm more relaxed. I'm enjoying these things. And I've gotten back to the young Audie that I used to be, because young Audie loved Bigfoot from when I was little. And then I grew older and got out of it. And now I'm back into it. And you know what? I just want to do the same thing for everybody else. You know, if you want to drop by my channel, I'll share some stories. Again, I'm going to be doing a email to where people can send me stories, and I will share them. I will share them, and I just want to add just my own part of bringing just a little bit of happiness, entertainment, and joy to people. And if you're watching this video right now, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I look at the views on that, gets me all pumped up, and it just helps me to keep on going. And I'm going to try to make, like, you know, being sceneries pretty nice out here, because you got to have scenery. I mean, my face is made for radio, so I need to give y'all something nice to look at whenever y'all come to my channel. All right, God bless y'all, and I'll see you on another video. Bye bye.